Welcome back. I've got another Blu Ray update, collection update. These are going to be Vinegar Syndrome and Severin titles. Not my whole order, but just the films I've already watched. So I want to cover that. First up is going to be the Forgotten Gialli box set, which, I mean, a lot of people have shown this thing off. It's great. And it's got some very rare Gialli that I only had on DVD, so I'm glad this came out. First up is the French Sex Murders. Crazy, crazy film. So bad it's good. You got Robert Saatchi, who's made a lifetime as playing this Humphrey Bogart ripoff character. I mean, he was even in Die Hard 2 as Humphrey. He's made a career out of being Humphrey Bogart. Crazy. But yeah, he's an inspector researching these killers, and the killer has a penchant for decapitating his victims, and the decapitations are ridiculously bad. I mean, so bad, and they linger on it. It's not good, but it's not good in a it's not good. It's good in a not good way. I mean, it's so bad it's good. I guess is a better description. Yeah, I give it a 7 out of 10. It's hilarious. Very, very comedic. Not intentionally, I don't think, but yeah, I like that. I like French Sex Murders. Next up, this one's directed by Tonino Villari, and that's My Dear Killer. This has got George Hilton in it. And there's a bunch of killings that are going on in and around a child's kidnapping. And so it's a great story. It's a great story. There's just not a lot of kills. It's not iconic kills as in a la Dario Argento, but it's a good story, well acted. I liked it a lot. 7 out of 10. And that's not to say there aren't any good kills in this. There's a handsaw kill scene that I thought was spectacular. So yeah, this is a good one too. I think this one. So I think the French, as far as special features. By the way, the transfers, I guess, I don't even know if I really should have to even say it. With Vinegar Syndrome, these transfers are just spectacular. Spectacular. It's amazing how good these look. Of the set, this one, French Sex Murders, I think, has an audio commentary. And then the other films have kind of a making of featurette. I think this one's like 40 minutes. I haven't watched them yet, but no audio commentary, just on the one film. Next up is Girl in Room 2A. This is a title that probably a lot of people are more familiar with. This is 1974. A halfway house for women basically has become this. It's more like a cult, witch cult kind of thing. For torture and murder. It's not a. I guess this one doesn't, to me, strike me as a straight gialli in that sense. It's much more of a Euro sleaze horror film with occult kind of references. I think this film drags in the middle quite a bit. I'm kind of lukewarm on this one. I didn't dislike it. I gave it a 6 out. I think I gave it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, 6 out of 10. It's an interesting story, but like I say, I think it drags in the middle. I don't think it knew where it wanted to go. Directed by a guy named William Rose, who looks like all he did was a bunch of softcore porn. But yeah, this is probably Girl in Room 2 is probably the weakest of the box set, I would say. But having said that, I think it's a box set you want to get. Absolutely. All right. Next up, let's go with so a couple MVD titles I've recently picked up. DOA, 1980. I want to say 1980. This is a documentary about punk rock. Why would I be interested in something like that? I'm mainly jazz, blues. I like Johnny Winter. Love Black Sabbath. I love hard, basically heavy metal. More of the older stuff though, Black Sabbath particularly. But yeah, punk rock was a movement that I think is kind of interesting from a societal perspective. Um, and the Sex Pistols, it basically this film is kind of centered around the Sex Pistols' fateful 1978 tour in the U.S., where they toured all these southern cities. In fact, they came to Baton Rouge, which is maybe an hour west of me. And after that, they broke up. You know, everything went to shit. I mean, Sid Vicious died, his girlfriend died, and uh, Johnny Rotten left the band. But this is basically snippets of that tour interspersed with other punk bands. You know, and it's what's interesting about it is not the music. I think the music sucks. I mean, I think the Sex Pistols. I think they were just very good at shocking people. You know, and covering up the fact that they really are not a good band. I mean, you had a guitar. Basically, you got a guitarist that he would maintain the riff and the drummer, but I mean, Sid Vicious couldn't play bass. I mean, he was terrible. I mean, and the Sex Pistols were awful. I mean, let's face it. But they had something to sell, and they knew how to do that. So you got to give them kudos for that. Shocking an audience, and Johnny Rotten is obviously a very good entertainer. I mean, he knows how to entertain. But you know, it's the movie's much more interesting for people's reactions to the punk rock movement and the Sex Pistols than it is, you know, listening to the Sex Pistols or any of these other punk bands. I mean, it's just funny to watch people's overreactions. Either they love it or they hate it, and it's just fun to watch people's reactions to that. Apparently, I think in Memphis they were going to get thrown out of town by the cops. It's interesting stuff. This has besides the movie, it also has a 2-hour making of documentary. So lengthy set of special features on this. Interesting. It was interesting. There's a couple scenes where Sid Vicious and Nancy where he's not even they're trying to have an interview with him. He's asleep. He's completely gone. I mean, you know, morphine or heroin or whatever he was on. He was just completely. He had sunglasses on. He's completely just toast. Not long for this world, as you could tell even then. Okay, next up is I think this is back to Vinegar. This is Severin. This is a Severin release that blew me away. Blew me away. Family Portraits. 2001. No, 2008, I think. Wow. This blew me away. Now, Douglas Buck made this film. He also did Theater Bazaar, and Sisters, and Prologue. This is an anthology of a very, very dark anthology of 3 stories, and the first story was just brutal. I was watching it. Yeah, this was a blind watch for me. I just stuck it in as part of the. I didn't have big expectations of this, but I'll tell you, after watching this film, this film was worth the whole bundle to me. This was just a very dark, disturbing set of stories, and the first one just messed me up. I mean, it really did. It shocked me, and I watched, I mean, I'm up to 800 movies this year I've watched, most of that horror, so it's kind of hard to shock me at this point, but this did. This did. In fact, I was like watching it, looking around to see if anybody was watching me watch it. It's like, God dang, man, blows me away. I don't want to spoil it. Suffice to say, the first story just blew me away. The other stories are very dark and very good as well. I give this a 9 out of 10. This is a must-have. It's not pleasant, but it's a damn good watch. Great stories. This to me is how modern horror movies should be made right here. Any one of these three stories is, to me, a textbook on how you go about making a modern day horror film well. Great stories, great actors, great characterizations, uh, and moody, atmospheric, and just dark as hell. Good stuff. 9 out of 10. Next up is Theater Bazaar. This is probably kind of the showcase piece of the Severin box set, Black Friday bundle. This has Udo Kier in a wraparound story, which has a multitude of directors, including Richard Stanley, telling anthology horror stories. I liked it. I liked it a lot. I didn't like it as much as Family Portraits, but and obviously this is not as dark as that. And this is more just a straight up horror film with kind of some cheesy elements to it, but it's good. It's good, and Udo Kier was fantastic. I think is kind of the ringleader on the wraparound story. This has an audio commentary track. I liked this segment Tom Savini did. By the way, this is a guy and his wife are having marital problems, and he goes to see a shrink. Tom Savini trying to help him, quote unquote. I liked it. I liked it a lot. It's good. Not like I said. I didn't like it as much as the Family Portraits, but it was good. Let's see. Next up, we're going to do In the Castle of Bloody Lust, or Castle of the Creeping Flesh. This was a German film starring Howard Vernon as a doctor or scientist trying to recover his long dead, I think it was his daughter or his wife. But basically, there's some people that stumble upon the castle, and one of them looks just like his departed. And there was a backstory to the death, obviously. And Howard Vernon is very, very creepy in this. This film, when I've seen this before, I have an old DVD of this. Didn't like it. It's very static. It's very static, flat. The camera work is very static. I thought the acting was flat, and it is flat even after rewatching it. But this Severin release gave me a new appreciation of it. Apparently, this is a cut from the original camera negative, and it's just beautiful. It's a fantastic. Watching it and the quality that Severin put this out gave me a new appreciation for the film. I still don't think it's great. I mean, you've got a gothic story, and in the middle of this gothic story, you get interspersed modern surgery scenes of a heart surgery. That it's like, no, come on, man. That's just not. It doesn't even look like it. It doesn't fit in any way, shape, or form to the overall feeling of the film or the storyline. I mean, it's just. But Howard Vernon is good in it. Howard Vernon is kind of a Jess Franco regular. What's interesting about this is there's a couple of featurettes. Some of them as long as 30 minutes long, 40 minutes long, that with the family of the director, Adrian Hoven, and it's his wife and I think his son that talk about this production, and they go into quite a bit of detail about Michael Armstrong and their relationship with Michael Armstrong, who did Mark of the Devil. Yeah, interesting stuff. Definitely recommend that one. Now back to the other Severin films. Let's see, we've got Tales of the Uncanny. This is another anthology. This is a great release, first of all. You've got 4 films here. You've got a documentary produced by Severin during COVID, I think, that goes into basically anthology films and the history of anthology films, with a lot of emphasis, as you could expect, on Amicus and Creepshow and Dead of Night from the 1940s. But what was shocking about this, particularly when people talk about their best or most favorite anthologies, Trick or Treat didn't even come up. I mean, it got zero love on this documentary. I was shocked about that. But still, it was a good documentary. After that, even better. Even better, you've got two anthologies on here of thought to be lost films. I think Eerie Tales from the 40s, and then another film from 1919 production. So it's got two films, anthology films that were really good, and then you've got this third, which is an Argentine anthology film that runs about an hour. A lot of those are Poe stories, Telltale Heart, things like that. So this is a good release as well. Definitely enjoyed it. Next up, we're going to do The Attic Expeditions. This is a 2001 film. Jeremy Kasdan did this, and he was also part of Theater Bizarre. He did Wizard of Gore. I think Seth Green is in this. Yeah, Seth Green is in this. And, Seth Green kind of, I don't know. I mean, from a horror perspective, having him in this film, just, it took away for me, it took away from the seriousness of it. Even though I think he played it serious, I just can't take Seth Green serious. I mean, but it's a bizarre film about a psychiatric institution, and all the patients, including Seth Green, around this one guy are actually, the question really is this are these people crazy, or is there some agenda that they have? That's kind of the big byline of the movie. But it's pretty good. I think the problem with this one is the lead. The other problem with this one is the lead, Andreas Jones, is just very flat. He doesn't command enough presence in the film to really justify his being a lead actor. I just don't think he's a really good lead actor. He's not compelling to watch. So lukewarm on this one. Give this a 6 out of 10. Next up and last is Plague Town. Plague Town is 2008. This is an interesting story as well. David Gregory directed this, about an Irish town that's its inhabitants are part of some kind of a curse, and they are now these almost like zombies in a way. But basically, these vacationers stumble upon this town, and all hell breaks loose. It's just a straight up horror film with a lot of iconic kills. But some of the kills were bad because of the CGI. There's a piano wire kill that looked like shit. It looked like kind of like the thing you'd see in Resident Evil. Really not good. I mean, I would just cut it out. They look like shit. But I like the story. I just thought some of the kills looked crappy because of the CGI. So I gave this one a 6 out of 10 as well. Okay, well, if you've seen any of those titles, or you haven't, or if you want to raise hell about the fact you haven't gotten your Vinegar Syndrome or Severin Black Fridays in the mail, you can raise hell in the comments section. I know there's a lot of people that haven't gotten them yet, but and like I said, I have all the bundles. I just haven't watched them all, so I don't really like talking about these films until I've seen them and have some thoughts on it. Anyway, hope everybody has a great Christmas. I may be back before Christmas with another update. Just depends on how much watching I get done. But if I don't see you, I'll say goodbye to 2020, and I'll talk to you in 2021. Maybe I'll do another video before then, but we'll see. Thanks for watching.